Hey there, and welcome to Imperfectionist Gaming. As an IT tech myself, I get asked the question, what is AI? A lot. And the answer is fairly simple and also quite complicated. The simple version is AI is artificial intelligence, which is intelligence of machines or software as opposed to the intelligence of living beings, primarily humans. I put what is AI into YouTube and this video came up. And it feels so sad because this poor robot, they're making her wear a hijab.
आज हम सऊदी अरेबिया के सबसे बड़े टेक्नोलॉजी इवेंट में आए हुए हैं। लीप है इसका नाम और मेरे साइड में जो आप औरत देख रहे हो ये एक एआई रोबोट है। इसके साथ मैं बात कर सकता हूँ चाहूँ तो और मूवमेंट्स बड़ी क्रीपी लग रही है।
Oh my goodness.
So much like a real person.
I would love for her to answer questions on like I'd love for her to answer the questions that us hijabis actually have to answer. Questions like, do you wear it in the shower? I'd love to know. I'd love to know what the robot would say to that. Okay, distractions aside, getting back to the topic, what is AI? It can be a range of things. It can answer your questions, it can write stories for you, it can generate videos, generate photos. In fact, most people on a daily basis interact with some sort of AI, whether it's Alexa or Siri or Bixby if you're a psychopath. And even though AI has existed for many, many years, the power and the adaptability of the technology has grown rapidly in just the past few years. And as this new technology becomes more powerful,
with great power comes great responsibility.
This power raises some concerns. Some of these concerns are in the field of artwork.
When an AI creates a piece of art, it doesn't generate that content out of thin air. Instead, there needs to be an input in order for there to be an output. In order for that image to be generated, there has to be a dataset. And that is where the problem comes in. In these datasets, there exists billions of copyrighted images, all of which was collected from the internet without the consent of the intellectual property owner. Your artwork and my artwork, the moment we share them online, they are opted in to the system. If your work so much as exists online, it will be found and it will be used in a piece of AI art. And these corporations have intentionally targeted legal loopholes to allow them to do this. Now, this database Lion 5B, which is most widely used for AI generation, was created with the pretext of research. But the corporations behind the funding of this research quickly turned it into a commercialized product. These companies are now making massive amounts of profit. This loophole allows these companies to weave their way through legal regulations which are put in place to protect the copyrighted work of artists and creatives. When AI generations are made to look like an artist's work, this has the potential for reputation damage, for forgery, for fraud, for identity theft.
Basically, not only is AI generated art stealing the artist's artwork, but it's also massively profiting from them. If human-made art didn't exist, neither would AI art, because that's the data that feeds the AI machine. Branching off of this, there's also concerns with AI deepfakes.
Subsequently learned is it may have come from the former president or his legal team acting in bad faith. This is a deepfake example of what is possible with powerful computer and editing. It took around 72 hours to create this example from scratch using extremely powerful GPU. It could be improved with more computing time, but 90% of people cannot tell the difference.
You might look at that and think, oh, I can absolutely tell that that's a deepfake. Look at how his lips move. It moves in a very kind of a strange way. But like they said, 90% of people can't tell the difference. And this is only the beginning of AI. In a decade's time, who knows what they'll actually look like. They can look 100% like real footage. Another industry that AI has seeped into is the video game industry, which has a mix of both enthusiasm for the technology and concern as well.
Whether it's Detroit Becomes Human or The Matrix, most sci-fi stories seem to point the same direction. Artificial intelligence is the future.
It's what's going to happen to us if machines can think.
AI would improve more and more, introducing random behavior movements in Pac-Man and Mrs. Pac-Man. 10 years later, Dune 2 came out, introducing the concept of real-time strategy games and featuring an advanced AI that could build and manage its own bases. So if we start at a base of 1 in 1952 with noughts and crosses and double our innovation efforts every 2 years, when Pong was released, we had moved the AI needle by over 1,000. When Sims was released, the needle was a little over 16 million. When Red Dead Redemption 2 came out, the needle was sitting at 8 billion. And in 2030, it'll be at 550 billion. So I believe right now we are sitting at the curve of the hockey stick. AI is just starting the upward trend, and we can't fathom what games will be like. I play a game on a screen when you can experience the game as if it's reality, right? So instead of focusing on how AI will affect virtual reality, I want to focus instead on how AI will affect the future of normal video games. AI's effect on cheating. In every game, there are people who cheat. From sports to chess to video games, we have people who will do anything to win. On one hand, it has made cheating much harder in sports, but on the other, much easier in chess. With ball trackers and 50+ cameras watching the field, we'll never see a hand goal like Maradona's Hand of God. But chess is different. AI and technology has made cheating viable in person, with a certain individual being accused of using, a inserted device. So how will video games be affected?
Artificial intelligence, or AI, is the next big buzzword in the video games industry. Unlike previous trends like blockchain and metaverse, new advancements in AI are set to bring big changes to the industry, with developers from AAA studios to indies all looking into how AI can transform games from more realistic NPC to shortening the development time of even the biggest MMOs.
And it's not hard to imagine AI having an immediate transformative effect in games, because AI in games has already been around for a long time. So the question isn't whether or not AI will change games, rather how the accelerating new advances in AI could disrupt the existing workflows. If you've ever played a game where you're escorting a non-playable companion, they're being powered by AI, along with all the enemies and boss fights you encounter.
AI can help sort of ease the process of going from idea to actual creation, then that's cool, but it shouldn't be just the be-all, end-all, the creation itself. So, hopefully it takes some of the weight off of all of the stuff that's a pain in the ass in making video games and makes it easier for more people to make games.
Now, another widely used application for AI and a more generally used application is to have the AI write stuff for you. And that's all well and fine until AI starts writing books, and then that becomes a big concern for authors.
Days ago, someone used ChatGPT, the AI language model, to basically take from George R.R. Martin. He used generative AI to write the final 2 books from his Winds of Winter series, creating over 1 million words in the process. But it was a spark of human creativity. No matter what, any fanfiction writer is applying their own perspectives, their own emotions, and their own style to any fan writing. AI at this point is not capable of doing that. There's no creativity here. There's no human input at all, in fact. As the developer laid out in their GitHub, no human writing other than the prompts. The soul of this writing is thus stolen. The kind of thing that makes you think if a human author had done this, would they have been liable for copyright infringement? Earlier in July 2023, Sarah Silverman, Mona Awad, and Paul Tremblay filed lawsuits against OpenAI. George R.R. Martin himself has raised concerns about AI, not so much its ability to make writing that is moving, but still that it could replace jobs.
And I personally have major concerns with how AI might actually not only influence our future, but influence our past.
The way we learn about history is very much visual. Whether or not the particular visual signifiers that we have as a society of a particular era are actually accurate or not, it usually depends on a number of factors. How much media from the era we were exposed to. Was photography invented at the time, or are we just basing our idea of the era on movies or paintings from the era? A while ago, a reel showcasing the changes, styles in fashion was circulating on social media. The reel was using stable diffusion, and none of the styles was actually correct. What's the point of creating historical content if you're not in fact showing history? This is what primarily bugs me about AI takes on history. They are always presented as authentic, and that's just straight up lying and using people's gullibility. Instead of learning what it actually looked like we're getting a yassified version of history. When we start relying on AI when talking about history, we're going to be sort of stuck in a shrinking circle of reheated ideas instead of expanding our understanding of the past. For example, ChatGPT heavily relies on Wikipedia, and we're using ChatGPT to write essays. So if those essays make it online, and then ChatGPT sources them again, so instead of coming up with fresh angles, we're sort of stuck recycling the same knowledge over and over. And knowledge that might not even be correct in the first place. If the same happens with visual content, we might get stuck in a loop of AI recycling AI-created historical imagery, and that will gradually get less and less related to the original historical context that it drew inspiration from, and we will probably soon get to a point when it's indistinguishable to the human eye, even to a trained one. Like, imagine countries with differing views of the past, or countries that have failed to acknowledge their wrongdoings from the past, using AI generated images to prove their point, or claiming that real historical proof of committing atrocities is in fact fake and AI generated. Simple as that. This sort of manipulation could easily lead to even more conflict than we're already dealing with. Which is why I personally think that it is important to regulate it as soon as possible.
Another area of concern for AI integration is how this may affect us socially, more specifically, AI companionship.
The inevitable development that we will have, I would say within the next probably 2 years, photorealistic avatars that we can interact with through, say, virtual reality, and with the ability to interact with photorealistic avatars. Furthermore, with the ability to interact with photorealistic avatars who might be your favorite celebrity, like a Taylor Swift, with very convincing facial expressions. Digital companions are going to become, for many people, not just a supplement to human interaction, but a replacement for human interaction. The loneliness epidemic, from my perspective, is probably only going to get more nuanced, more complex, and more challenging to address. And so those people who are already intimidated or taxed by going out and interacting with one person or groups of people, you could see the case for many of them opting out completely. We already have problems with declining birth rates, and there are many countries that are below replacement rates at this point. So I am very curious to see what societal impact that will have. As these tools and machines become more and more convincing, more and more appealing, I think that there will be the very natural impulse to offload more and more of the things that we currently handle in our own heads or manually.
There's also some very concerning advances being made in the sector of AI-assisted digital immortality. And if you've ever watched the TV series Upload, this is going to look kind of familiar.
Fortunately, we are working very hard to make death optional.
We are ready to go out and make eternity great again. Terrasem is hypothesizing that immortality is possible because the soul is data and not material. We believe that the information that is the soul is capturable and it is transferable. That data set is what we call a mind file.
Terrasem believes that creating your own mind files is the first step to immortality. He's talking about merging our minds with the machine. That's the transhumanist belief that we can transfer consciousness to artificial bodies and conquer death.
Through history, we've sort of moved the goalposts of what does it mean to be alive, what does it mean to be dead. This is a further pushing of that boundary.
Is immortality possible?
Well, I certainly fear death. I hate the idea of someone erasing my hard drives and just wiping me off the planet. Just like that.
How about uploading our essence into a humanoid robot?
Well, hi. It's nice to see you.
What is hereafter?
Hereafter is using conversational AI to help people share their life stories interactively. Alexa, open the life of Paul #1.
Hello there. This is Paul. There's so much to talk about. My childhood, career, or family.
The primary goal of the Terrasun Movement Foundation is to pursue a multi-decade experiment in mind uploading.
You input all your information into their LifeNot website, and then algorithms interpret it to create you in a new digital form. Lena 48's not just any old robot. What makes her different is that her personality is based on the mind file of a real person.
People are gonna say, why did we ever think people had to really die?
I think you're right. I don't think people have to die.
She has 32 motors in her face. She has 2 cameras in her eyes, and she uses voice recognition to hear us. So everything that is in Bina 48's mind file, 85%, let's say, came from our interviews with Bina. Now she's actually responding with choices from her database that the human Bina never put together as a result of her own algorithm's function.
Is immortality possible?
We are working on preserving ourselves as much as possible, and that's the purpose of the LifeNot project. Because death is really unnecessary and stupid. Let's cure death. Okay.
Okay.
And everything I've shown you today is just the tip of the iceberg. There are plenty of sectors that AI is currently influencing, and only time is gonna tell how that actually shapes our future. We may end up with a future of dystopian people who can't interact with other humans and have never seen a human-made piece of artwork, or we might end up with a beautiful, bright future thanks to AI. As Abraham Lincoln once said, the best way to predict the future is to create it. And if AI is creating that future, maybe we should be concerned. Hey, if you made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you aren't already. Thanks for watching.